You are the person who is the first port of call when someone is wheeled into the ER. There's been a terrible accident. You're the person who has to tend to them. Is that pretty much correct?
Oh, it's not just me.
Well, no, there's nurses and stuff. We get that.
It's a team-based model.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the consultant in charge of that team, which could be me, is the person who's got to do something when somebody gets wheeled in, or even worse, when we get a bat phone. Yes, Commissioner. Which ambulance does, warning us of something horrible, usually coming in, somebody in cardiac arrest, or somebody's been hit by a bus, a cyclist, something like that.
Is it always just accidents, or could it be like someone who is sick as well? Like, do you have to be prepared for pretty much every single
Yeah.
possibility?
You're spot on in that we are emergency medicine seen as a horizontal specialty, because we cover everything. So somebody comes in, they're unconscious, you don't have a clue in the first instance whether
Right.
that's a stroke, brain death, overdose, or they're busily dying from something else.
How do you go home at night and mentally detach yourself from the trauma that you see?
Well, it's easy, once you get used to it, is that it's episodic care. In other words, we have this massive surge. And remember, most of our work is mundane, right? The sex, drug, and rock and roll, it's there. I'm told it's fun. Most of the stuff is just older people, breathing difficulties. Main complaint, for instance, is abdominal pain. We have these big spots where suddenly all your adrenaline goes, the bat phone goes. You've got somebody who is about to die, and you're trying hard as anything else to save them.
Now, if I'm wheeled in and you say what's wrong, and I say I have abdominal pain, or I fell down and I hit my head, you have information that you can work with. If someone's been in a terrible accident, or like you say, they arrive unconscious and they can't communicate to you, how difficult is it to surmise what the situation is?
It's tough, and what you do is actually you rule out things. In other words, we get you the scanner.
So it's process of elimination.
That's right, because society expects us to, in a very timely fashion, rule out things where the neurosurgeon might have to drill a hole in your head and get the blood out, right? All that sort of stuff. And once you get into that training and things, it works.
I would be petrified of going, oh, it's A when it turns out to be B, and it could be the difference between a person living or dying.
You are very good. One of the analogies of working in an emergency department is life in a goldfish bowl.
Right.
Everybody can see what you're doing. Everything you do is then seen again by somebody else in the medical and other profession. And that's one of the terrors, right? But if you do your job and follow what you've been taught, you do rule out the really bad stuff where people, shouldn't die. You do it.
That first time where you are wrong, how do you deal with that emotionally? Obviously, you are very experienced. You are a professor now. You've lived this life for a while, but there has to be that first time when it goes wrong for you. How do you prepare yourself for that? And then when it happens, how do you deal with it?
It's one of those things which you just have to live with. Right?
And can you?
Well, it depends on what goes wrong, right? Now, you in the media and things like that, they have done studies of cardiac arrests, let's say, right, on television shows, and they come up with a 90+% survival. The reality is, if you have a cardiac arrest out in the street or somewhere in the normal world, you have a 10-20% chance, if you're lucky, maybe even less than 10, that you will survive that. So one of the biggest problems we have is society's expectation that nobody should die. And that's not valid.
And how do you deal with families that are obviously quite worried and concerned? Do you personally have to speak to the families, or is that a nurse or so's job to do so?
Absolutely. It's one of the most important jobs. There's social workers and things, but if you have something which is, we're talking about horrible stuff here, but, dad goes off to work and has a heart attack and dies, right? And the family comes in. You as the senior, the consultant, have to talk to them, and even if the patient comes in, I'll say somebody who's overdosed at a music festival or something, the family's there while you're doing all the resuscitation and all that sort of thing. Oh, absolutely. You've got to keep them informed, and actually looking after when something bad has happened is one of the toughest jobs in the department. But even that, if you do it well and it rips you apart, you know you've done something helpful.
What is that one thing that is preventable that, for what you have seen, if you could send a message to people to say, just stop doing this, what would it be?
Easy, in that basically the heading would be that actions have consequences.
Sure.
In other words, if you have a couple of beers, go for it, right? But if you have 10 schooners, maybe not a good call. Same thing if you pop in drugs and you think, whatever, that action will have consequences. Most people know it. You get behind a wheel, whatever. But more for where we are at St Vincent's, if you're drunk and cross the road, that's not really sensible. You shouldn't have got drunk in the first place.
People have strokes, people have heart attacks. That's just one of those things that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But the choice to take a particular drug that can affect you so adversely has got to be something that, for you, seeing the results is very aggravating and frustrating.
Even more so, I'll give you one question. Answer me why Australia is leading in the world for amphetamine-type substances. We are leaders in the world in taking, per population, ecstasy. We are third in the world for taking crystal meth, and we're fourth in the world for cocaine.
Oh my goodness.
So, Houston, scratch out Houston, Australia, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is?
All these
Too
things
many
are-
music festivals?
Oh, absolutely not. They're terrific. That's what I mean. I can understand. I think, I can't understand why when you're at a music festival, why you have to try and get out of it. I think because it's just so good. And whatever. There's no one-liners in this, right? But yeah, why do people want to distort reality? This is such a fabulous country.
I know that through what you've done, you would have saved a lot of lives. How fulfilling is it, and what in your history to you is your favourite success story, the one that you like to point to as even it looked like it was going to go horribly wrong and then it had a happy outcome?
I actually don't remember, because every time you pull somebody back from the brink, so to speak, and it's a team effort. And when you get somebody alive, even to the catheter lab, who's having a heart attack, they unblock the artery, and that person then you see maybe a couple of years later because something else has happened. You feel good about that, and they come up to you and they say, remember, da-da-da. That's a beautiful feeling.
What's the weirdest incident you've ever had to attend from someone who's come in, no matter what the story is, to try to cover it up?
I'll say it. There was a film crew from BBC4 England came over, and they came and interviewed me, and all they wanted, they were doing a series on sexual misadventures.
Here we go.
Oh.
Right? And obviously, I'm going to show you pictures. No, I'm not. I haven't got any. But the thing is, you see it all. You really see it all. It's even seasoned people like you, Rove, and things. So you'd be
I'm
amazed.
seasoned.
You'd be amazed what goes on. And remember, every city's got its sort of sin bit. Within the kilometre of St Vincent's, you can buy everything that the human weaknesses wants to have.
Sure, you're right in the cross, yeah.
And so shit does happen. And we see lots. I mean, it's from, I'll just say, people who lost their key and they climbing in the kitchen window and they fall on their backside and things happen.
It's always I was vacuuming in the nude and I slipped.
I know.
Always.
Do you know what? One of my girlfriends, she's a paramedic, and she had to go to a scene where a lady was stuck on the manual gear stick, if you know what I'm saying.
I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I do.
Do you, when they come in, do you just go, really? Really? I would just kind of like passively poke fun at them all the time. But, that's why I don't do that, and I work in radio.
We never poke fun at them, ever. Right, and
even though they've got a gear stick inside them?
No, they're patients. They're terribly embarrassed, and likely as not, they're in pain. And we got to do something about, getting things out of them.
Literally. Literally. Oh, well, on that note, we thank you very much, Professor Gordian Fulder. Now, you can catch him on the all-new King's Cross ER, which happens tonight, 8:30 on Channel 9. Seriously, they were all vacuuming in the nude when they slept. We thank you very much for your insight. We could chat to you for hours. And to be honest, dear listener, we have, and we've cut this down, but I'm sure the extended version is somewhere. We thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Fascinating.